they can have the complete best intentions and be completely wrong, believing everything that they're saying, and then swaying you the wrong direction.
Which is what has happened, I believe. Here's what I believe. I believe that every scientist who's embraced this fully, first of all, they have embraced a religion. Evolutionism is a religion because there is so much that you cannot see. And that's really, religion is faith. And so there's so much in evolution that you cannot see, you cannot prove.
Ladies and gentlemen, dogs and fleas, pull up a chair and sit on your knees, please. We have a story to tell you that we are still learning about. Welcome to Talk the Walk. My name is Henry Moses.
I'm Jared Moreland.
I'm Gabriel Moses. We are super happy to be here, and thank you for joining us wherever you may be.
And let's welcome back to the show. And we have some good news. We asked Jenny, because it's just so fun to have her on here, if she wanted to be recurring, and she accepted. So she's going to be a recurring guest whenever she's able to. She's got an open invitation to come and be on whenever she wants to. And so if she's really busy at work, it might not happen. But if it's not, she may just jump in and help do some filler episodes and all kinds of fun stuff. But I guess you've done all right the last couple of weeks, Jen.
So what's the recurring frequency? You know, I was thinking about my Outlook calendar, and you said a recurring appointment. And you got to say, is it going to be weekly? What day of the week? What time of the day?
He wasn't listening.
No, but what's the set frequency?
No, that's
What's
what
the frequency?
Recurring means it's going to recur. What's the recurring?
With regularity.
That's why I said when she's free.
So it's not recurring.
That's not.
It is recurring. No. It happens again and again and again.
It depends on your view of time.
Recurring. My view
from
is
30,000 feet, it is recurring.
My view is we don't have enough time for your nonsense.
This is called chill talk.
I know, I was just chilling.
This is chilling. Jenny hasn't got to speak a word.
I was trying to let her, and then y'all jumped in.
Ain't no y'all, Jared.
Yes,
he did it.
Actually, my question was to Jenny anyway. She hasn't even had the chance.
Henry can't help it. He couldn't.
I can't help it.
He's got to.
Jenny, you want to talk?
Welcome, Jenny. I mean,
thank y'all for having me. Let me just jump in and stop this train.
I was about to start saying other stuff. I'm like, no, shut up. Sometimes in our family, you have to tell yourself, shut up and let somebody else talk.
It's hard.
What a way to start.
Or Jared will call you out and make you look stupid about it.
Jared's good at that.
Yeah.
I love it. That's why he's our friend.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to be invited to be a recurring guest, whatever that looks like. And it is so much fun. I mean, we get our coffee and come in here and sit.
Yes.
I don't have any coffee right now.
I didn't get my coffee.
You didn't get coffee?
You threw everything off with the chili thing.
The chili.
I got coffee. I just didn't get chili.
Oh, we've already started.
We have a pause button.
Coffee. That's okay.
Do you have a pause button?
I don't.
I have a pause.
No, we're
on my mouth.
Yeah,
it's like it work. It's glitchy. It works when it wants to.
You could send a text to our assistant to bring some coffee.
Great.
Is he still in there? That was.
I know.
Jenny's son is in the kitchen.
Forgot to even tell him we were coming in here, so he may be.
I told him we were doing the podcast because he was going to ride with me. So I was like, "Hey, do you can."
But you'll be here for a minute.
He's like, I'm gonna take my own ride.
I feel like this is boring for the listeners.
It is, but I'll tell you what's.
Creighton, by the way, is Jenny's son, and we've done an episode based off a conversation I had with him a long time ago. So
yeah,
that's for those of you that don't know. One of the things you have to remember is anytime you say someone's name, you got to say
who they are, and where.
Otherwise, people are like, who what are you?
That?
Yeah.
In English, that's called introducing the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So anyway, well, I'm excited. I am excited that Jenny's going to start being on here, and when you're able to, so we're going to send you the topic, and you'll be able to jump in, and it's fun. Jenny brings a little different flavor to the show, and a little more sensibility, which we could use,
and a lot of maturity.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're
I mean. Right, warming up for the show, making sure the mics were right is living proof of that right there. We were, we do this little What was it? Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom, or something.
Which Jared's our engineer tech, and so he makes sure that I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the sound is far better now because
hopefully
Gabe and I, when it was just Gabe and I, would just move all the little knobs up to the same spot and felt like that was good.
We're doing good. We got it.
And Miles was always kind of complaining like, it's not bad, but it peaks too hard and at this and at that. And so, Jared, Mr. Techie, gets in here and is like, hey, how about we test each one and make sure they're all, because everything's not going to pick up the same. Every voice is not the same. Like my voice is kind of deep. Jenny's is not. And so Jared adjusts it to each person and makes us say the word.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Because he's a unique person.
So, Jared, Gabe, and I are all like, bada bing, bada boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Bomb, 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 bomb. And then it gets to Jenny's turn.
Jenny's like,
and she's sitting there with this look on her face.
She's like, no, I won't do that.
Y'all are not dragging me into this
ridiculousness.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Jenny's like 1, 2, 3, testing,
I'll
testing.
Do some kind of normal test for you, and then Jared made sense of the whole thing, and I did end up doing it. But
well, you said boom, boom, boom. You didn't like bada bing, bada boom.
She did with boom.
You did once, but then I said, how about boom, boom, boom?
Okay, yeah, that was a little better.
You gave her a reprieve.
But you did say you would do the other one we started out with, but Hank really wanted to start the show, but there's another way we can do it too.
Remind me, we were just
ba 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 brand
ba 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 brand
ba 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 brand
ba ba brand.
I didn't say that I would do it. I did not say I would do it.
Her head. No, we've got to get, if we can get Jenny to sing. I think
she's like.
Well, Jenny, remember whenever we went to work at in the mortgage industry with Jenny, and forever it had just been Jenny and Sean and Jill. And Gabe and I brought our nonsense to the professional world, and
they need it.
Our fun. Like we brought the game of tag to the office. We brought all freeze tag,
joking,
like all kinds of
pranks.
And Amy, you're gonna have to wait. And so just we think we're funny. And it's debatable, but we think we're funny.
No, you
it's
think
mostly you.
It's you.
Oh yeah,
it's not Gabe.
I like.
I know I'm funny. Gabe thinks he's.
I think you're funny.
That's where we.
I think you're funny.
I don't think. No.
Yeah.
Jared thinks. Thank you, Jared.
I think you're funny.
You are funny, but are you going to tell the title story?
Tell the tile story.
Yeah, a title company calls in, and Hanky looks at this. Henry looks at this. We have caller ID, and he comes in, he's like, do this goofy thing. As soon as you answer the phone, do this goofy thing. And I'm looking at him like,
to a title officer.
You want me to do what? I said, hold on. And I took the call professionally and then got off the phone and I said, not only will I never do that, but you can never do that.
You will never do that.
If you ever do that when a title company calls.
They love me.
That's because you spend 20 years building a business and trying to have a reputation.
Yeah.
I help everybody lighten up. They love me.
Oh, they're going to lighten up.
It has bit me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They're going to lighten up on the calls.
But I want to finish my story, though.
Oh, okay.
So we're doing all this. I did call it nonsense from the beginning.
Yes.
And Jenny sends back an email. Who was it to? Like it kind of ends up rubbing off on you.
Oh, no. Yeah, I did. Sometimes when I'm around Henry, like it rubs off on me.
Ugh.
I said your mama or something.
On a professional. Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
I did.
And it was like someone from corporate.
It was a corporate email. Yes. And I was like,
your mama.
Yeah. So.
And there's silence.
And they're not used to that from me at all.
It's in the blood. Jenny's just been suppressing it for a whole lot longer than I have.
My nature.
Oh, yeah. But no. When we were kids, you did some pretty funny stuff.
I was a kid. I mean, when you're a kid, you do a few silly things.
Once you started having kids, then your sense of humor kind of went away.
I'm just saying I was always a serious kid. I did have some silly things, but I was always, in the third grade, I was walking around worrying about mom and dad.
You wanted to be the best friend. You did.
They don't know what you're talking about.
But you did.
Well, I think what's cool, what could turn into a chill talk topic without letting it get too heavy is there's a time and a place for everything, right? That's what you're saying.
There absolutely is now. And that's where, so we're on opposite sides of the pendulum. Jenny and I are. and then Gabe somewhere in the middle. And so I did, though, have to learn,
some restraint.
Some restraint. Like, man, there's professionalism. And I can't even use, I told Thomas and Jamie, I was like, y'all have no idea how I really like to be in real life.
Those are his loan officers.
But,
you need to introduce the subject.
What subject?
Thomas and Jamie. Nobody knows who that is.
I know, but the story was not about Thomas and Jamie.
But if you say, I told Thomas and Jamie, I was
still continuing to speak, so you don't even know if
I'm going to throw something. I need something.
Oh, it's fun to be not a sibling with siblings.
See, he won't introduce the subject.
I barely said it.
Well, it's okay if you don't introduce the subject because you have a backup who can just,
Thomas
you just need to embrace that and stop getting mad about it. Just embrace
who
your
Henry
role.
is.
Embrace who Henry
Who
is.
I am.
And who you are. You can fill in the gaps.
So really quick.
So
they're his loan officers.
Yeah,
All right.
they're my team guys.
Yes.
But so I have to be serious with them, trying to help them succeed at what they do and so on and so forth, and managing and all that. But I told them not too long ago, I was like, y'all just don't have any idea who's actually sitting in front of you. I'm just going to tell y'all. And I said, you ain't ever probably going to know. But so I've had to learn, man, you got to be professional. And that's the way. So most of the time now at the office, I'm pretty serious. If Gabe and I are talking, or Jenny and I, I might cut loose a little bit, but it depends on who's around and who. Yeah. So I've worked on that stick and I'm getting tighter.
Yeah. I think when you're naturally a fun person, you have to dial in, when to be professional, doing, time and a place. Mm-hmm. And to Jenny's point, if you're naturally serious, there is a time that you're like, man, I could loosen up here and let everybody else in the room feel a little bit more at ease. So that's your challenges, because it's just as hard for us to dial in being serious as it is for you to loosen up.
Yep.
I'll piggyback on that, because I saw a TikTok or YouTube, whatever it was, yesterday. And this was, to me, these kinds of TikToks, I'm like, maybe somebody shouldn't have put that on there for people to see. Mm-hmm. But it was a recording of this 30-something man, and he's sitting in front of his birthday cake, and people are singing happy birthday to him. And he does not look like happy.
Oh, man.
He's smiling. Mm-hmm. He's
going through the motions.
I'm getting tense hearing you tell. I'm getting tense.
Oh, it was tense, Jared. This was, and and then, I was like, what is this? And I looked down and read the captions, and it says, this was my husband's last birthday before he committed suicide. Oh, and I was like, my gosh. And he has a little daughter over there, and he, smiles at her and stuff, but it was so like, I was like, this is unfortunate. Like, I wanted to just take it easy. Yeah. Take it easy. Mm-hmm. And the people in my life, sometimes I'm the serious person, and sometimes you can't make me be serious. Yeah. I won't do it. And, so I get both, and it happens naturally in my life, but some people just have it so locked in. I'm like, you need a Henry to do something that you're like, oh my gosh, don't do that. Please don't do that. Or bust you out laughing something like, you need that. Yeah. And I just, man, my heart broke for that situation. And I'm like, we need each other. And there are different ways.
Well,
the different person. Yeah. Because I need somebody to help me tighten up.
Yeah.
And now I've gotten better at tightening up on my own, ratcheting it up, and then cut loose whenever the time
But you'll always be what you are.
But you are, yeah. But you also grow
can work,
and all this stuff.
You will always have that goofy in there.
Oh yeah,
I hope.
I like to make people laugh, even if it's one that doesn't stick. Just the expressions on their faces when they look at me like I'm an idiot. Mm-hmm. That's funny, So that's funny to me.
It helps to break through.
I've done some studies on different personality profiles, and I won't throw out the names of the ones I've done, because some of them people are like, they're satanic now all of a sudden, but they were super enlightening. One perspective was my personality type is I am free spirited.
Yeah, that could be a good podcast discussion at some point, because I'm very curious on all that.
But I just love to have fun. And so if a conversation gets super tight, intense, I want to pop something off to lighten the room. But what I've learned is leading people, and even in our organization, difficult conversations have to be had. And I have to restrain that, because you will not, for some people, they can't get closure if they can't finish that heavy conversation. And so having to restrain that, because it's a stress reliever for me, because I'm just like, I can't stand how thick the energy in the room is.
It is for me too. Yeah, I know.
And so I've learned that, man, it's really important that I keep that under wraps right now, because we've got to have this serious conversation through its entirety. And it's not a time to joke around, but that's hard for me.
Not a time.
So as soon as it's over, do you walk out of the room and say something funny?
Yes, I'm the guy that makes comments at funerals to try to get people to laugh. Like, it's terrible. I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but I'll be the guy, like,
or in the middle of an argument with your spouse.
Well, me and you probably should never sit next to each other at a funeral. No. Like, that would not go well.
Well, what happened at Walk to Emmaus?
Oh, yeah, we got
called out. Yeah,
I saw him last night, and I was like,
"Y'all got called out?"
Yeah.
Or you and I got called out?
No, me and him did too. Me and you got called out by a guy.
Oh my!
But then
there's one common denominator.
Is
Jared.
Oh, that's true. I was thinking most.
Jared.
Yeah,
we were both there for the party.
We were there, and it was like it was communion time.
Jared,
but it was kind of
You're
like,
just used to blaming us. Yeah.
Well, people were getting their elements, and it takes a while for everybody to get their elements the way they do it. And me and Hank were just kind of joking around, but we weren't the only ones talking. But this guy,
but we were kind of laughing.
He stops the whole service. And says, "Hey,
wonderful man."
He's a wonderful man. He says, "Hey, guys,
also former assassin."
Yeah, he was assassin, like a Jason Bourne, legit.
Yeah. So if he calls you out,
so it's like you're going to respond, or he could kill you. But thankfully, he found Jesus, so a good chance you're not going to die. But he just commands so much respect, and he said, "Hey, guys, do you understand what communion's all about? The body and the blood of Jesus." Yeah. Like, this is super serious, and I don't see that there's anything funny or casual about it. And you guys need to be super reverent. And we were just like, first I was mad and wanted to slap him, because you don't like to get in trouble. It's
and we knew who he was talking to.
Yeah, he was talking to us.
Were you like there as a person attending, or as a sponsor?
Both. Well, no. We were sponsors. Yeah.
You were sponsors.
So we were there for. Yeah, we were sponsoring, and it was just kind of.
It was your walk.
It was yours.
Oh, it was mine.
It was yours,
yeah. That you were about to come out.
Yeah, so we got in trouble.
Well, we can't say too much.
No,
but it was yours.
So me and Gabe got in trouble too. We were joking around, same setting, same night, same everything. And this guy just gets up and walks over and says, "Can you guys be quiet? We're trying to pay attention."
You pointed him out to me. You pointed him. You were like, "That guy, right?"
Oh yeah,
but he was so right, and we were so wrong.
No,
that was when y'all were going.
The whole theme and message and point of all this is, who's we? I'm you, Jared.
I'm saying
you were laughing.
You
laughed at what I had to say.
He's the kid that gets everybody else to go along, and then lets them soak up the credit for it with him.
Yeah,
takes two.
And really, inside, Gabe and I are both dying. Like, can you calm down?
Oh no,
there is no way you.
No.
Maybe Gabriel, but not you.
When I get around Jared, it is you want to laugh, you want to clown, you want to be bros. It's funny.
Well, it's kind of like me asking about,
because he's so easygoing.
He is so easygoing.
It makes you feel good inside.
Something I did on this show a few times ago. So something I did on this show a few times ago. I did it again this week. Serious moment, serious conversation. They were talking about Jesus and the time he was on earth and doing all this stuff. And I was sharing about our podcast about picking up where people left off. And I said, do y'all ever wonder if all those people that were in line waiting on Jesus, if just one of them was like, "Hey bro, can I get your autograph?" And everybody just looked at me like, "Are you kidding me right now?"
But I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a whole, we've got more important things to talk about. Because we're going to close out this week the evolution versus intelligent design. And it's been a great discussion. It's been wonderful. Jenny, awesome notes. And so, in fact, I'll probably, if you don't mind, I'll probably post these notes up on the Facebook page. Yeah. And so if anybody wants to be able to dig deeper, but you have just a couple more points this week, right? That that you're wanting to kind of close out with, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit. So Jenny, you have the floor.
Okay. So we did a ton of information data uploads, and hopefully somebody downloaded that over the last 2 podcasts. But the main thing that I want to get across today is basically that the point that you have the right to decide for yourself, and you're not an idiot if you look into this, or if you hear what we're talking about and you decide, I want to know for myself. I don't want to know because the scientific community said this is the truth. So that's kind of where you have the right to say, well, let me look at that. And it doesn't matter if you're a scientist or not. Okay. And, we've kind of talked about in the last couple of episodes how we're going to talk about why 97% of scientists say they believe that evolution is how species diverged and how we as humans came to be about. We're going to talk, we are going to go over that today, kind of the 2 real solid reasons that took place there. And then I'm just going to put a few things out there that helps you think. There are things that I thought of while I was going through this, just kind of examples, or things that somebody else, while we were talking, some other scientist kind of thought the same things that I did, that helped me wrap my brain around it, how something could be true other than this scientific thing, and how probably other than this evolution thing. So I want to finish one more information download. Okay, one more information thing before we start going to more philosophical type deal, and kind of how we might consider thinking in the future on these subjects.
Okay, take it away.
So the first thing is, like I said before, evolution did not ever pretend to know where life actually came from.
Which I think is super pivotal.
I never knew that until you brought that up.
Yes. And so a lot of conjecture has been had about how life could have begun. And the scientific community, remember, it all has to happen naturally, which means no intelligent intervention. It had just happened. The only way for that to have happened is, and I'm going to use 2 I'm trying to kick scientific terms to the curb in here so that it doesn't get boring, but there's 2 you should know of. One is biogenesis, and that just simply means life comes from life. And this is kind of the first concept of how we might want to think about this. People want to say there's a thing called anecdotal evidence, which just means that which my eyes see. It's not tested in a lab. It's not gone through the hypothesis process. It's just literally what my eyes see. That's your anecdotal evidence. Okay,
that's not easy to say.
No, it's not. Biogenesis means life comes from life. Okay. So it's okay to look around you and say, what do my eyes see? Well, with humans, obviously, you have a male and a female, and they come together and they make a human. Human life has to come from life. Okay. Insects, some of them lay eggs. It still came from life. Life had to have come from life. In fact,
what's the term again?
It's biogenesis.
Biogenesis. Okay. Gotcha.
And
So biogenesis is Christianity, like our view, right?
Well, it's just period of fact. Okay. We have facts and we have theory.
That's what you can see. Yeah, life isn't coming out of
this. Is just the straight truth. It's just that life comes from life. That is something we can prove. Yeah. That is provable. That is a fact. There's facts and there's theory. The fact that life comes from life, we can prove that. Then there's a thing called abiogenesis, and that is that life comes from nothing. And this is basically with the primordial soup that we talked about, kind of, which is just a wild guess, y'all. There's absolutely no evidence that we crawled up from a soup thing or turned into bacteria or something like bacteria and grew. There's just zero evidence scientifically and also with my eyes. What do I see? Do I see any examples? It is the first thing is.
No way. Yeah.
I feel like you're challenging me to a game of I Spy every time you start out like that.
I mean, it is
with my eyes.
Somebody, what do I see with my eyes?
Yeah, I'm like,
I mean,
no.
really, it is okay to say I have a brain, I have eyes, and I don't have to believe what you tell me just because I don't understand what you're saying, and I'm not a scientist. Okay, we're humans. We need to start thinking with our own brains instead of being told what to think. There's too many. I mean, you've got 97% of scientists that say, yes, I believe evolution. And when in fact, the whole category jumping thing, which is the foundation and basis of how this could have happened, is not provable at all. There's just no evidence to support macroevolution. So we just swallow it as a whole. All these brilliant scientists that have gone to school have just swallowed it as a whole and basically said, it doesn't matter what my eyes see.
So who came up? Did Charles Darwin come up with the coming from the primordial soup?
Oh,
and
I don't even know.
Or
Yeah.
Abiogenesis, I don't know. And if you go, the problem is if you go Google it, you just get this answer. How did life begin? You get an answer immediately. And there's no, think even, there's no, hey, this hasn't been tested. They're just, they will give you a stinking answer
that's it,
and presents it as fact. So those are kind of the only two scientific terms that I have to throw out there today that you should know. They are literally saying that abiogenesis, they being the scientific community and a majority of them, that abiogenesis, which cannot be proven at all, is how life began. And your eyes have only ever seen biogenesis. It is okay to lean on your eyes. And by the way, nothing else has ever been proven except biogenesis.
So I want to ask a question. I think this is an appropriate time. We have learned that us saying, well, if people come from monkeys, why do monkeys still exist? I've learned that that's an uneducated response. But
what everybody doesn't see is that Jared's kind of rolling his eyes like, oh crap, I've been using that for a long time. Yeah.
I really thought that was
So-
smoking
Yeah.
gun.
So
I thought I had them.
But I think I may have one. Let's hear
it.
But would this hold water? Because obviously biogenesis, life comes from life. Yeah. Angel and me and David, mom, dad, child. And we talked about micro and macro evolution and fish growing legs and going on to land. If Darwin's theory was correct, then we should still be witnessing. My eyes have seen, but I only see my mom age out and die and go back into the ground. Yep. There's no documented people evolving into a fish or something else. Like,
or something in the middle.
Does that hold water? Like, then why has evolution stopped? In my mind, it's not happening.
It's not happening. You're not seeing.
I'm not evolving into anything other than to what I was created to be. Like,
and also you don't see any other species going through macro. They're saying humans are the only ones that just happen to come out of this ape-like species, and that's it. But wouldn't you see multiple species that had gone through?
Dogs becoming
I like that
elephants or something.
Like,
it's not happening.
Why are we the only one that managed to come out and could communicate and reach this stage in evolution? I'm like, how long does it take?
Right. How many different species?
Millions of years is what they're saying, but you don't see anything. I mean, why is there not like a picture kind of like Star Trek where we have,
all these
Vulcans
and
Klingons,
Ferengi,
why don't you see anything like it?
There's zero evidence of it even showing that. Like, at some point, our kids would start to be looking different. But that's not happening.
Anything.
The only thing you see is like when people crossbreed animals, like to make a labradoodle or something like that. But the
dog is still a dog.
The dog is still a dog. Yeah. Exactly. At the end of the day, it's still a dog.
Yeah.
So that's my new argument. If I get like, hey, since the ape deal is kind of dumb, I mean,
and I think it's a new reasoning. I think if you can take it, if you can approach it, if it's a reasoning, I'm not trying to argue with you, but I am trying to reason with you.
Yes.
And to help you to see the truth and the light. And like you're saying, Jen, the idea is to get people to think for themselves.
That's it.
Well,
yes.
walking around living life, you do go, what was that movie? A Few Good Men. I want the truth.
Yeah.
Right? I want the truth. I mean,
I'm going to go and watch that scene now.
We want the truth. I want to know what is the truth. And, going, okay, unsubstantiated stuff, I'm like, okay, I can make up my own mind and go, I think I'm going to question that. I mean, I get down to the nitty gritty when it comes to truth, that I don't like having the wool pulled over my eyes by anybody. I want to know what's true, what's not. That way I can move forward in a direction for the rest of my life going, I've built my life on a firm foundation.
Yeah.
I need that. I don't like being duped.
Yeah.
In fact, I used to be called Gullible Gabe in elementary because I believed people and they'd say something stupid. Some of these kids love to do, and some of us adults. And I would believe it. Mm-hmm. And then they'd make fun of me.
You know what's the unfortunate thing about that is anybody that's gullible, what's that mean?
It means
they're
trust you.
They're trusting.
You got to get
make
that out
fun of them for
Do not trust people.
Unfortunately, you just can't.
You can't.
It's awesome.
You can trust God, and that's all.
It's awesome, but trust nothing. I mean, I myself am a Republican, hardcore conservative. We don't dive into politics much on here, but I, even with my own party, am like, I'm not just going to trust everything they say. Yeah. No different than going to my church I love and appreciate.
Or another Christian.
My pastor or another Christian, but you have to understand that they're human. And even if they have the best of intentions, especially if you don't have Christ, if they don't have Christ, they can have the complete best intentions and be completely wrong, believing everything that they're saying, and then swaying you the wrong direction.
Which is what has happened, I believe. Here's what I believe. I believe that every scientist who's embraced this fully, first of all, they have embraced a religion. Evolutionism is a religion because there is so much that you cannot see. And that's really, religion is faith. And so there's so much in evolution that you cannot see, you cannot prove. You can't touch it or feel it. And but you have to believe it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I like about a lot of the material in the Bible is substantiated.
Right.
The stories, some of them, the miracles that happened, that city of Jericho, crushed down, but yet there's one spot that wasn't, and one little house, and that was Rahab's house. Yes. They actually found this, and it was crushed down. Mm-hmm. Everything else was smashed down.
Which into the ground they rebuilt, in that area, so it had to have been pushed all the way into the ground. That is an amazing story. The Bible does substantiate.
As you dig, you're going to find more and more evidence that backs up the things that the Bible told us. And I go, man, and it's good to have faith without. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you need evidence too.
I'm a type that goes, I don't need it. I don't need the evidence. I have a relationship, and that's what my whole situation is built on.
Your evidence is your relationship.
Is my relationship with God. He speaks to me. But then other people, the doubter, like you, Jenny, you used to call yourself the blessing of a doubter.
Gift of doubt.
The gift of doubt, need to see it. They need to understand it. And there it is. Go look. Mm-hmm. But with this thing, where's the substantiated evidence for angio? Oh gosh, what's it called?
Abiogenesis. There's just nothing for that.
Nothing for
it. And there's evidence. There is evidence to support evolution. I don't want to say that it's just zero. There's just no evidence to support macroevolution. But if you want to talk about macroevolution, then you could get there through the evidence of microevolution. So that's where their faith is coming into play.
I love how you started this out with basically inviting people to research this on their own. My mind just went on this journey of, wouldn't it be awesome to sit down and really talk to Darwin and really find out what he was really, because I think about, even in business, we will say something and then we'll say, hey, tell me what you heard. And then they tell you what they heard, and it's nothing what you said. Yeah. Even on this podcast, there's going to be people hear things, and that's why you need the Bible, and that's why you need the evidence, because I feel You think of the little deal where you whisper something in somebody's ear and it goes around the circle, and by the time it gets to the last person.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
How much information do we have that started out completely different than what we're hearing today? We see it in the news. We see it in everything. It's just like, so that's why it's important to read your Bible, not listen to everybody else's interpretation, or just rely on this podcast to guide you in your journey with the Lord, because you're going to hear something different than we ever intended you to hear. So go back to the Word of God. Go back to the Bible.
That's right. Go back to the Word of God. Go back to the Bible. Spend time researching. I think if, I think the Lord leads us, guides us, our footsteps, directs our paths.
Yeah.
And so not all of us are going to be, that's why we're doing a podcast on evolution. That's why we're having you on here, because Gabe didn't take the time to research it. Jared didn't, and I didn't. It's not something we've all necessarily felt drawn to. But you did.
I'm still not going to research it.
And so,
but I appreciate Jenny.
Take my word for it.
but I do think, and we know more than we did before, and we may research little things, but I do think that people that are listening, or that will listen in the future, may hear this and realize, oh, it's okay for me to go research. We've got this society that says you have to have a college education to be able to really have an opinion.
Yes, right.
I don't have one. I certainly am opinionated, and I don't mind being wrong. You're going to have to prove it to me, right. but I don't mind being wrong. We've got to be okay with having conversations, no matter where you're at. You can read the same books that a college educated person can read. We all have access to the same. If you feel led to dive into something, I like, that's what you're kind of talking about, Jen. You felt led, you went and did. Now, you are college educated, but not in this area, in the area of business.
Yeah, nothing here.
And so you just picked up books, read, and I appreciate people that are that have degrees in different areas, but they certainly are not always right. They're just not. People are fallible. And so, anyway.
Sorry to get you way off topic.
Did you have more that you wanted to?
I'm looking right now to make sure. There's a couple of things that I just want to make sure to say before I get off.
Yes, hit them.
So, okay. So one thing that scientists are, when you're looking into your own research, okay, if you Google something, that is just the way most people do it. I happen to have podcasts that I listen to of people with scientific PhDs and books. And I'll be honest, if this was a podcast, I would probably bypass it because I do not have a PhD. So I'm talking to just the regular human out there, who is interested in this. So if you decide, I want to go look this up for myself, then I want you to think about watching for some of the things that they do when you Google a question like, how did the universe begin? They're just going to automatically say Big Bang. Okay. They're just going to automatically say that, the Big Bang. I'm not totally against the Big Bang. I think that it's possible that is what God used. In fact, the Big Bang, now we've proven that the universe had a beginning, and anything that had a beginning had to have a cause. And so for me, I don't struggle with the Big Bang at all because it had to have a cause, and I believe I know what that cause is based on Genesis. But look for those things. Then they will say something like this happened, and they'll give a whole factual statement, but they'll say likely. They'll use likely in this big factual statement somewhere. May have, probably did, most likely. Look for those terms when they're basically shoving something at you. They do not know. There is almost never. And then when you start digging down the rabbit hole, where's the evidence? They're going to have to admit there's no evidence. We were watching that video about the cell the other day, and it was, pointing to the mitochondria in the cell. And then a lady was explaining it, and she said mitochondria is, descendant from the ancient bacteria. And so I went to go look that up because she's clearly an evolutionist. And I asked Google the question, is mitochondria descendant from ancient bacteria? And it said, yes, it is. And then I dug a little bit more. What's the evidence? There ain't no evidence at all.
Crazy.
But they say that it's reached theory level. that the fact that, or for them, the idea that mitochondria was, descendant from the ancient bacteria has reached theory level. Well, you're saying it's a fact. Like when I ask you, you're saying
what's
it's
crazy?
A fact.
Whenever we all have watched police shows, right? Probably anybody that's going to listen to this has watched a police show. Whenever the investigators are investigating, the detectives are detecting, and someone asks them, what's your theory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't say,
this is what happened.
This is my theory. Arrest that man.
Right.
Right.
They're like, we have to prove it still. This is my theory, but this is not, it won't hold up in court. Or the district attorney says, no, you don't have enough evidence
for me to even take
for
this
me to
trial.
even bother taking this to trial. But they're like saying, this is our theory.
Yes.
Fact. The end.
The end.
We're just going to end it right there. It's a fact. Straight to fact.
We kind of discussed there are facts, and those facts support.
Well put.
Thank
It
you.
is.
I like
a very
that.
good
Well
way to put it.
Yeah.
But
It's crazy.
But Jenny, when you say it's reached theory level, to them that's like the most esteemed level that you could reach.
And it is, and it's because theory should be well supported with evidence. So here are the facts of the matter in the scientific, if we're going by the scientific community's definitions, facts are, we talked about biogenesis. A fact is life comes from life. It is fact. Yeah. Because nothing else has been proven. Fact. Okay. The rest of it is just your wild guess. But theory is, of course, that these lives multiplied and digressed and went off in different directions, created all these different categories. And they do have well-substantiated reasons for believing that, because there is microevolution.
Right.
And so that is a substantiated theory. They have a lot of evidence that they're looking at, but they're having to live by faith because their leaps are so massive. They have nothing that your eyes can see that say macro, that categories jump category. The same is true for God.
Yeah, but microevolution, we've talked about this before, is within the same species.
It is. But I'm just saying those are facts. We see microevolution, the theory part.
But it's a large leap. You could very easily, and we do, include microevolution with creation.
Biblical.
Right? Yes. God created us to be able to adapt.
Yes.
God created, and it makes sense. If you were going to create something, would you not want to make it to be able to survive?
Right.
Exactly. Is that not the whole idea?
Adapt.
So it makes sense that God would create us to adapt to different environments. That's why people kind of look different in different parts of the world and kind of adapt to their surroundings. And
I was talking to my son Justice last night. And
awesome.
Well done.
I identified the subject.
The pat on the back. Subject identified.
Yep, subject identified. I was talking to him last night about, micro versus macro, and he was raised by me. So, this isn't the first time we've had this conversation. And he, just very simply, he said, Mom, I don't, get too deep into that subject, but we all adapt. It's called adaptation. It's that simple. If you want to use a big scientific word about micro and all of that, but it's adaptation. Yeah, I fully believe in that, if that's evolution, So, but the thing is just to say that they have to get to Darwin and to that way of thinking by faith. So it's something that can neither be proven nor disproven. You really cannot disprove that that's what happened, because they say it takes millions of years. If you're going with the scientific definition, they feel like God existing is a theory. And it's because he can neither be proven nor disproven. Okay. It is not a fact as far as the definition of a fact goes, that God is there. It is our experience. We cannot see God. We can hear him only in our spirit. Very seldom is there something audible there. And even if it was audible and we heard him for real in our ear, it could not be tested. It's not like we could capture that in a bottle, put it under a microscope and test it.
And prove it was divine.
Prove. It takes faith based on the evidence.
Yeah, the definition of faith is the substance, the evidence, the substance of things hoped for. The evidence of things not seen. Yeah.
And I think that knowing that they're living by faith too. that they are living by faith too. They have to get there by way of, they want to pretend that everything they have is proven. And I want to be careful how I talk about, because I felt like the first episode when I heard it, I was being a little too harsh on people who believe in evolution. There are so many serious people out there that just genuinely and authentically, they're not trying to push an agenda. They just believe this.
Well,
they are
people
led
need
astray.
something to believe
They
in.
do.
And if you're an atheist,
Yes.
you need something to, because we're created to need that something to believe in.
Right. We are created
meant to
need
point
that.
us to God. But if we're not willing to embrace God, then we need something else to be able to embrace.
Yes.
Otherwise, what's the point of life?
I did Google your in your notes, how did life begin? So to give it 6 pages deep before I found any mention of God,
Right.
According to the Bible.
6 pages?
6 pages. Now, I will say we do a lot of marketing and geofences and all this stuff at work. Somebody's paying because the number one response.
Do you know what a geofence is, Gabe?
He didn't introduce the subject.
I will introduce that subject in a minute.
Yeah.
But so the number one response is life originated near a deep sea hydrothermal vent.
And it doesn't say that's what we think, right?
No, it does say
cool.
recent scientists have narrowed in on hypothesis.
Okay, well, at least that.
So anyway, and that's in an evolution. But anyway, I will say they paid whatever it took to get that to be the number one response because we own businesses. And if you Google utility truck repair Amarillo, it's not there yet, but we've paid to make sure that's the number one, all the different keywords, we can ensure it's the number one response. So
no different than somebody that pays on TV for
not saying Google's doesn't have their own propaganda.
Oh, right.
But a lot of what you see, you got to be careful because somebody paid to get that information in front of your eyes. So,
which on the number one spot, the number one spot is usually someone like Walmart. It's very hard for a local company. I just took a whole class on that. For a local company to get the number one spot, it is very difficult to get that number one spot. It takes millions of dollars.
Unless it's a weird, like Walmart doesn't want hydraulic repair or something like that.
Something that is not in their arena.
So a geofence is if I want to advertise stained glass, because I'm looking at stained glass, I want to advertise my stained glass to anybody in this area of your neighborhood. I can pay to put a advertisement, a fence in this area. So when you're driving, if you pull up your phone, you start seeing all this stuff on stained glass. I can make sure that comes up on your phone every time. It's
in
a geofence
area that y'all designate.
Cool. Yeah. So if I want, because Tyson's a good customer of ours, and so is Plains Dairy, so we will start promoting a product we repair to anybody that's driving in the area of Tyson Foods or Plains Dairy. So if they're in those areas and they're on any social media, they start seeing sponsored ads of our product that's pertinent to their job.
Mm-hmm. The thing on this, though, is I would bet that it wouldn't matter where you are in the country or the city or anywhere in the United States of America, that's going to be your number one thing that comes up about where did life come from.
Yeah.
Typically, these other things that you're talking about, you can pay, you can do all of the things, but I would be willing to bet.
It's a hot button.
I'm hoping somebody would prove me wrong on this. And Google does participate in their own.
No question.
They've been caught on that over and over. Yeah, they have been. They have participated in pushing their agenda.
There's going to be multiple factors that play into why something shows up.
The average
when it comes to evolution,
a business has to pay, but if it's an agenda, they're going to have some help getting that.
That's it. And evolution is the God of the world. Mm-hmm. That is the faith of the world. If you are not a Christian, it's the God. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be up there.
A Christian or a Hinduist or a Buddhist.
Well, I don't know about that. Oh, yeah. Anybody who has
religion that believes in higher power.
Yeah.
Did we cut you off any of your other informational stuff?
So let's hit real quick a few things just to get our brain thinking.
I'm telling myself, do not rabbit trail, do not get her off track.
Yeah.
We're almost.
You're being so professional.
I have two things I want to hit.
Well done, Knuckles.
Okay. So if you basically, okay, if you Google how did the Big Bang come, you're going to get a lot of scientists trying to say that there's just a way that this could have come from nothing, that the Big Bang could have come from nothing. How did the universe begin? Okay, and we haven't talked a lot about the Big Bang, but I believe everybody knows what the Big Bang is, so I'm just going to go with it.
No introduction.
It's the whole there is no God thing, okay? If a drunkard flips a table full of glasses and all the glasses fall to the floor, we're going to lean on our anecdotal common sense evidence again. I can do that if I want to. Remember, we can do that. Okay, so if he flips a table full of glasses and glasses fall to the floor, shattering, does that create some kind of order?
No.
Any kind of order or beauty?
No.
Or anything? Any pattern?
No.
Chaos.
Yeah.
That is just it. That is
random.
what you're going to see that. If you see a random anything, because I really want us to start thinking about what our eyes see.
In fact,
not
if
the
it
end all
did
be all,
create
but
a
it
pattern,
matters.
You would be like,
What's going on?
What's happening right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's
If
something
any
weird and wrong.
kind of order were created, you would begin to say,
it'd be freaky.
is there a ghost in the house?
Yeah, that's right.
What would you be looking for? Signs of intelligence somewhere. Something is going on.
Or you
here.
just run.
Yeah, you might run.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we're on, and if you look, if you guys go look at math and chemistry and all these things that make up the building blocks of life, or even E equals MC squared, that you can calculate the speed of light, or friction, all these things, you can literally put an equation on that. They're saying that this just happened. This just happened. All this beautiful order, creativity that humans have. I mean, our creativity as a human sets us apart from any other living thing. The fact that we create, and that goes so well with the Bible. He's a creator. He created us in his image. We create. No other species creates. The closest thing you might have is a bird building a nest, something like that.
Yeah.
But they're building it for survival.
Dams,
they're doing it for survival and instinct and all of that. They're not trying to make something beautiful from something they saw in their head.
Never has my species of my favorite dog, a Schnauzer, been credited for inventing a car.
That's
or
right.
anything like that.
Oh, invention. Yes.
Yeah, there's no
If
creation.
they do, you're about to be rich.
Yes. Yeah.
Real
Great
rich.
point. I appreciate you sharing it that way.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Then if you walk, say you're walking along in the dunes, okay, the sand dunes of wherever, the Sahara Desert, I don't know, sand dunes of somewhere. I'm not going to claim to be geographically,
I wouldn't be.
astute. So if you're just walking around in some sand dunes somewhere where they have sand dunes, and you see a clock just laying in the middle of the, you've been wandering around for days, and you see a clock laying on the ground. Do you wonder how over millions of years it could have happened that the pieces of wood and the glue and the
all
staples
came together.
could have all come together to make that? Could that, if you look at that clock, is that what your brain thinks?
Well, that's what, these stained glass windows, speaking of stained that we have, the new in our windows here in the studio. That's the first thing I thought when Miles brought them by is, how long did those things take to come together like that and form? And the way the lead came together to form a line on its own. And I'm so confused.
He's being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's a great point, though. It's
right.
like, how did that? It didn't just happen.
It couldn't have just happened. There was
right.
a creator. So you don't think that. You would think there's a sign of life, intelligence. Is there a human around here somewhere who made that clock? Where did that clock come from?
And that's what's funny too, is they go, well, I think that the argument would be, well, with enough time, that's what happened. And I go, ours, you can calculate the population of people on the planet right now based on procreation. And you go, okay, if you dial it back and go, okay, 100 years ago, there were this many people. 200 years ago, there were that many people. 300 this. The number is like a funnel, right? And it comes back down 6,000 years ago, people were created, and this is how many we've procreated into. But how long ago was all that? One, they're saying we've been around for all the, so long. Well, the number would be far greater than it would be right now, I think. But then two, I'm like, so how long did it take that clock to come together in the sand dune?
But I think I would counter that and say you would never think that. And I'll tell you why you would never think that with enough time, that clock, the wood, the glue, all of it. Because that is not what happens in nature.
It's just not what happens.
Things go the opposite. Things deteriorate. The world is deteriorating. This world's getting worse and worse. You don't see things coming together. You see things
There's definitely
dying.
No order.
No. Well, there's the order and the law that God created. You plant a seed in the ground, it grows, and it dies. So you don't see that. You wouldn't look at a clock and think, well, over millions of years, that must have come together, the wood, because things do not get better. They deteriorate.
Over time. Yeah.
Over time, over millions of years, they don't. Things deteriorate. They don't come together. If you look at a watch,
that's awesome. So they're saying that there's this reverse aging process that things get better over time, and there's nothing
more
around us from
that.
Our lives to the microphones we're talking in to the windows we look out. Nothing improves with time except wine.
And even wine, once it reaches a certain age, starts going the other way. People are spitting.
And by the way, the process of making wine is breaking down. It becomes something different, but it's actually is breaking down.
That's true.
I mean, the grapes are breaking down, all the fermenting, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a nasty.
We just happen to like what it becomes, but
right.
It's breaking down. And then over time, you're right, heat and whatnot, or all that kind of stuff.
Let me hit this last because this part is very important. Why we've been saying we're going to address this.
She's bringing it home. Here we go.
Okay, why do 97%? What are the reasons that 97% of scientists all believe this? So I'm going to tell you what I have read of all the scientists that I've read and looked at is that if you dare, any of the scientists that I read that dare to go against the narrative are bullied and told that they're science deniers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you give me something that's just free thinkers and everybody 97% think this way, I'm going to take that a little more seriously than if we have this bullied situation. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which isn't that ironic? Isn't that what Darwin did? Isn't that weird?
What?
Well, he chose to think something different.
He chose to think freely.
And now
we're going to have to give him some credit for that.
But it's just funny because he started this thinking that now people won't let you think differently.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's ironic.
We really don't know where he was truly going with this.
We don't?
No, what I'm saying is because we talked earlier, he didn't have the microscope. We talked about how the media took where he was at and made it to what it is today.
Well, they took it and ran with it.
He could have eventually stumbled on absolute truth.
Well, and he said that if it could ever be proven, if irreducible complexity could ever be proven, and it has been proven now, then his theory would absolutely fall apart.
So we're not honoring his wishes.
No, we're not. I will say nobody here, the scientific community is absolutely not. They're turning a blind eye to what he said and to irreducible complexity, which was described in part 2, which means that you could not take away from the cell and it still function. Thereby, you would have no human life. If there's no way the cell could have evolved, and we have to have cells to survive.
Could you imagine we start a movement? We're going to start honoring Darwin. How are you going to do that? We're going to choose to say it's wrong. He told us to tell
based off his statement.
Yeah, his statement. He said to throw it in the trash.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So we're going to throw it in
the trash.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remind everybody that why would somebody want to believe this so much? Also, because in the end, some you going somewhere?
Yes.
You want me to pause on something?
I'm going to hit 2 and 3 real quick because I think we're out of time.
We're okay.
No, we're not out of time.
We have time.
We can do what we want.
Our podcast.
Okay.
Right.
So second reason why is because everybody's brainwashed, like we've talked about over and over. If you Google how did life begin, and that's just for the average person, that's not a scientist, I get that. But also in school, the only theory put forth in public school, the only theory put forth is evolution. The same is true for colleges. There is no other theory put forth for how did life begin. So obviously 97. If that's the only thing you're saying, then why would they think any different?
Yeah.
So there's reason number 2 that 97% of scientists say that. And then reason number 3 has a lot to do with the enemies of the world, of the spiritual enemy, the principalities. And this one's the most important for how did we get here? And I'm just going to read a Bible verse, which is Romans 1:21 through 25. I guess that's 4 Bible verses. For even though they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks, but they became futile in their speculations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing to be wise, and if you think about that, professing to be wise, they became fools. If we've discussed all of this. How foolish does this look? They became fools, and they exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God. So they exchanged God for an image in the form of corruptible man. We are worshiping ourselves at this point. Like, think of all the things. You got to find yourself, get divorced from it. We're just choosing to go down our own path to be, I just got to find who I am and love myself. No, that is not really what the Bible says. The Bible does not teach us to even think about ourselves. You know? They became fools and exchanged the glory of the incorruptible God for an image in the form of corruptible man. Therefore, God gave them over to the lusts of their hearts, which we're seeing all over the place, to impurity, so that their bodies would be dishonoring among them. For they exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worship and served the creature, which is us. We are the created, we're the creature, rather than the creator. And so he knew that this was all going to happen.
That was you dropping the mic. That was a mic drop.
He knew that this was, it's in Romans 1. He knew what we were going to do. He saw it back then because he created time. The battle has been won, but he knew we want to worship ourselves.
It's so sad.
Creature.
It's so sad. I mean, it's just, the older I get, to think about the deception that goes on with all of this, which is what we're trying to do here, hopefully to break a little bit of that deception and encourage anybody that's listening or your friends, share these episodes with other people, that maybe it might help to break some, because it's a deception. Humans have to have something to cling to. And if it's not God, it's going to be something else, and it's going to be some foolishness. And then, like you say, they're going to brainwash and all these types of things, and just the thought of someone being lost out there truly believing it just makes me sick. You reading that scripture, it makes me sick to think about where they're going to end up, how their eternity ends. So, rather than walking around angry all the time at these people, which is very easy to do, I've done it many a time, man, be praying for the lost, be praying for the deceived, be praying for the wicked, that their hearts might turn, be prepared to show the love of Christ. But I also think be encouraged when somebody's truly seeking truth, even if it's wrong truth. I really feel like if they're actually seeking, there's only one true truth. There's only one absolute truth.
That's the good news.
That's the good news. If they're truly seeking, they will make their way to him. You hear crazy stories about this kind of stuff, and it's encouraging. Well, Jenny, thank you and did you have anything else you wanted to share? Okay. Thank you. This has been real eye-opening for us because, we didn't take the time to study it. But I do want to say, and I do want to ask you real quick, did you always have a desire, and then we'll wrap things up, but did you always have a desire to dig into stuff from a young age? What was kind of because I think people may be out there thinking, like you said earlier, well, I'm not college educated, therefore I just have to listen to those that are, which is a bunch of baloney, right? So were you always kind of eager to research, or can you do just quickly kind of talk about what made you start thinking, I'm going to get this book, I'm going to do this? And
it was, I talked about it a little on the first episode, but it really was just, I think that getting closer to God, who is the creator, and learning about him, and he stoked up that curiosity. I talked about the radio show that I listened to on the way home from out of town, and it had Stephen Myers. And that really just, because I had been through college and really I just had so much doubt in my life, not falling off a cliff with it, because there was something that kept me from truly falling off a cliff, which was God. But that the doubt was still there because people would talk so much about evolution, how life began, and all of this. And so having a real true blue scientist say, no, this does not, science doesn't support Darwinism at all. In fact, if you look at science, it actually supports Genesis. It supports God, the creator. Science best supports. There's always, in school, there are two answers. What is the most probable? And that's the situation we have here, What does this evidence best support? And it really, more and more and more scientists are coming out of this and saying, intelligent design.
Yeah.
And then for those of us who've read the Bible, we can say, Jesus,
That's right.
And I want to piggyback on that. Two things. One, doesn't Satan came to steal, kill, and destroy, right? That's in the Bible. He wants to do that. That's his mission. And then two, he doesn't want anybody to believe any of it exists.
That's it.
Him or God, anything.
Yeah, any of it.
So
you'd rather it all be dead.
Mission accomplished with so many people. And when you said earlier, Henry, that it's sad, I was thinking that too. Here's a nice, great, big, juicy distraction from God. He came to steal, kill, and destroy. Yep. Here it is.
One that can make you worship and feed your flesh.
Feed you.
You feel good for the minute, but one that
selfishness.
How many people are on this earth?
7.5 billion.
7.5 billion. Of 7.5 billion, I just want to end with this because I think it's so fascinating. Because last week we said there's 30. There's
this out in prayer.
Okay, they say that 7.5 billion people. We learned last week there's 36 trillion cells in every individual.
Math?
No,
but
7.5 billion. And Gabe, your DNA, your cell makeup is unique to you and only you. In 7.5 billion people, there's not one duplicate. How intelligent of a design is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we talked earlier, this could be a great chill talk next week to expand on.
He's so smart.
We get so frustrated sometimes because Gabe doesn't see life like me. Well, if in a 7.5 billion people, he's nothing like me, why do I get so frustrated that he can't think, act, or talk like me?
Yeah.
We could have a little more grace and empathy with people because they're so intelligently designed, uniquely and created just for their own. So I think that's just phenomenal. So I'm going to have a lot more grace with Hank because he's just never going to be as intelligently designed as me.
There you go. I think our DNA is a whole lot closer than we think it is. So don't get too excited. But yeah.
Lord,
great point.
Yeah,
yes,
Lord, thank you so much for creating us wonderfully in your image. We're unique. There's only one of us. There's only one of you, God. I just thank you for Jenny and her just diving into this and just making it so palatable for so many people. Lord, I pray you bless her. Speak to the heart of every listener that hears this, Lord. I pray, God, that you would open up doors for us to speak to people, to share your message of grace and forgiveness. Lord, thank you for your son, Jesus, who died on the cross for our sins. Lord, I'm just in awe, really, of you today and just so thankful for the opportunity to sit and just talk about you and share the good news of you and your son, Jesus. So, Lord, be with us as we go forth. We just praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Go ye into all the world
and preach the gospel.
Amen.
Amen. Recurring means it's going to recur. What's the recurrence?
With regularity.
That's why I said when she's free.
So it's not recurring.
That's not.
It is recurring. No. It happens again and again and again.
It depends on your view of time.